Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll have our cover story segment with TV editor Michael Schneider discussing the quality time that he spent with one Kathy Bates. She's the cover star of our annual pre-Emmy Awards issue. And we'll also hear from Emily Longeretta, senior TV features editor, on how she puts together our annual TV Producers Impact List. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Netflix and Amazon have joined forces in the effort to sell more advertising. The tech giants will team up to share programmatic revenue opportunities. It's a sign that programmatic advertising inventory, the low-hanging fruit of internet advertising, is feeling the impact on the flood of inventory unleashed in recent years by outlets including Netflix and Amazon. More Netflix news. Netflix has set October 9th as the launch date for its Victoria Beckham docuseries titled Beckham. Fathom Entertainment plans to celebrate 100 years of Dick Van Dyke in December. The independent film distributor will run the retrospective feature Dick Van Dyke 100th Celebration in theaters as a two-night event on December 13th and December 14th. Dick Van Dyke hits the century mark on December 14th. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. In today's cover story segment, Michael Schneider tells all about his time with the awesome and Emmy-nominated star Kathy Bates. Before we talk to Mike, let's hear a clip from Bates talking about how she came to star in the CBS drama Matlock that earned her this Emmy nomination. This comes from Variety's Actors on Actors series that ran in June. Bates is conversing here with Billy Bob Thornton.
You know, when I first read the script, I thought this is just episodic, and I'm not interested in doing that, And then I finally got to the end, and there's this twist where this woman is actually on a mission to bring some justice for her daughter. That's when I just said, oh yeah, I'm in. Because I really had one foot out the door.
Really?
Yeah, I just felt that I was getting small roles that a lot in films that I loved that people were not seeing. And I just began to ask myself, is this what I want to keep doing? Do I want to sell the house and maybe move to France, and call it a day?
Michael, thank you for taking time out of your busy Emmy week to talk to us about the great Kathy Bates.
Always glad to talk about the one and only national treasure that is Kathy Bates.
The issue that comes out the week before the Emmy Awards, always in the last bunch of years, has featured a past Emmy winner, somebody who can reflect on the experience, what it means to bring home one of those gold statuettes. Tell us about your experience with the awesomeness of Kathy Bates.
She's one of the great stories of the year when you look at what a smash Matlock has become and how Kathy Bates was at the center of it. And she's just really having the time of her life. It's infectious talking to her. She looks fantastic. She's got more energy than she's had in years. And she's just present. She's got these beautiful blue eyes, and she's always looking at you.
I guess you know how scene partners from many decades have felt. Tell us about the setting and where you sat with her. You got to spend some time being a fly on the wall on the set of Matlock.
I got a chance to go to the Paramount lot on an afternoon and sit in and watch them shoot a couple of scenes. And Kathy was there. Also, Jason Ritter, who is a lovely human being as well. Sky Marshall, who co-stars. It's really a love story, the show, between Sky Marshall's character and Kathy Bates' character. It was interesting to see that, Kathy Bates is still human. She was struggling with a line. It was almost a tongue twister of a line, but it was so sweet to see Sky Marshall pull her aside, and they rehearsed together to nail it down, and then they got it. But, the shooting was running late, and I was exhausted, by the way. I was sitting there for several hours, and so I was like, well, is Kathy Bates going to be up for talking to me at 7 o'clock at night after a long day of shooting? And if anything, I think she was more ready to go than I was.
So the great color that you capture in your cover story, which publishes today, September 10th, in print and online. Folks, please go chase it down. It's such a good read, but you really just capture, she is so invested in this show. There's none of like, I'm going to show up, you'll shoot my scenes, and then everybody else will work for the rest of the week and shoot around me. Like, she is at the center of this show.
This show means a lot to her, and she's also developed a great bond with Jenny Snyder-Urman, who created this twist on Matlock and really is giving her some really fun things to do on this show. One of the important things that we talk about is how she wanted to make sure that Matlock shot here in Los Angeles, and she made that a priority. If they were going to cast her, this was going to shoot not too far from her house. And she was able to pull that off, and the studio was able to make it work. And that's allowed this cast and crew to live in Los Angeles, to go home at night, something that when I talked to Jason Ritter, he was really grateful for, because he and his wife, Melanie Linsky, they're busy folks. Melanie is shooting in Vancouver a chunk of the year. So it's nice that he's here in Los Angeles with the kids when she's up working. So it's just such a good vibe on that set. People seem to really enjoy being there.
And to talk about what this late in life physical transformation has meant for her, it's really touching. And it's one of those stars, they're just like us,
Yeah.
Also telling about the greatness of Kathy Bates is the number of people that apparently ran to the phone to talk to you about how great she was. You have some fantastic secondary interviews with people that tell really good anecdotes, not just platitudes, but really good anecdotes about what makes her such a good actor.
There were so many great stories that I couldn't even get in as much as I wanted to. Sam Rockwell, who really opens up my story, because he specifically, he had the through line of calling Kathy Bates a badass. And I kind of just loved how enthusiastic he was talking about her. He told this great story of one time she came over to his house for a dinner party, but because she had to loop a movie the next day, that entire evening, she was speaking in an Irish accent. So the entire dinner party, she's so committed to the job that she wouldn't break that accent because she was going to loop the next day. Just great stories like that from folks. John Travolta.
Just want to step back a little bit about the opportunities that are out there for older actors that, I think used to be consigned to maybe a guest shot here and there, but now there are, whether it's Gene Smart, whether it's Ted Danson, whether it's Harrison Ford, like there is a real opportunity now for people. What is your read on what is creating these opportunities?
I think it's a couple of things. The streaming era has allowed for more opportunities from a volume perspective, more stories to be told. I think there's also just a level of nostalgia that's fueling a lot of the content that's working now. Reboot mania means that naturally these are going to be older stars now who return to do some of these shows because these are familiar faces and sometimes familiar franchises. A Man on the Inside, the show that you mentioned that Ted Danson starred, a good chunk of that cast was actors of a certain age that got to return and do some great work, like a Sally Struthers. And that was fantastic to see that show work.
I saw a panel with Michael Schneider talking. He just went on and on about these were such pros. They hit it. They nailed it. First time, second time. I remember vividly him saying that things just went so fast because they were such pros and knew what they were doing. Did you get a sense, Mike, from Kathy about anything else beyond Matlock season 2, which has already been renewed? Anything big on the horizon for her that we should watch for?
I think Matlock is sort of her focus right now. So that's generally what we talked about. But she's, I think, excited to do more now. One of the things that she talked about was the fact that before Matlock, she kind of felt like things were on the downswing and that maybe it was time to hang it up. But now she's reinvigorated.
Well, again, thank you for taking the time and writing a terrific portrait. Profiles of very well-known people are always a particular challenge because you've got to find that new way in. Fortunately, Kathy has so much going on. You had a lot to work with.
It was a pleasure.
And now, here's Emily Longeretta discussing Variety's TV Producer's Impact Report and what it takes to make the cut. Emily Longeretta, Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Cynthia.
In addition to covering the Emmy Awards soup to nuts virtually 365 days a year, you also oversee many other features for Variety, including in the September 10th issue, published in print and online on Variety.com right now, is our annual, drumroll please, TV Producers Impact List. And that is quite a lot for you to sift through and find people that are really making a difference. Emily, where do you start in terms of putting this annual list together?
There are so many talented producers in this business, and there's so many people that go behind every one of the shows we watch. One of the things I really wanted to make sure we were doing this year with this list is not just highlighting the shows that are continuously nominated for things. I really wanted to also highlight some of the producers that maybe aren't talked about a ton and aren't doing these really prestige shows, but are still creating really good storytelling on TV. I started asking our staff, what shows are you guys watching? What really creative things are you seeing on TV? What things are we talking about? Of course, I asked for submissions, and I got almost 500 submissions this year from teams who want to highlight their producer. I go through every single one and go through and see what shows people are really making an impact this year. And that is a lot of the show that we'll see at the Emmys this weekend, but it's also some other shows that maybe flew under the radar for some. Taylor Sheridan is actually a perfect example of this, because while he's not a newcomer by any means, he doesn't see a lot of awards glitter or glam, but he had Lioness Landman 1923, Mayor of Kingstown, all on TV this year. And then there's people like Ben Watkins, who created Cross on Prime Video and got 40 million viewers and got an immediate season 2 pickup. And he shows that, again, not big award hitters, but are getting a lot of views. And I think that that's important to highlight those.
America watches a lot of television. I love that you're looking for that. We do a lot of lists at Variety, but we take them seriously. We have criteria. We look across the landscape, and every year, undoubtedly, some folks are going to be disappointed. There is a finite number that you can put on. What were some of the things that were really important for you in terms of making the cut this year?
So this year, we decided to focus on shows that came out during the Emmy window. It's during that window of May 31st, 2024 to June 1st, 2025.
You will go to your grave knowing those dates.
One of the big things was also producers who shepherd young writers and young producers onto their teams. That's more important than ever. We see that all the time. TV's changing all the time. Shepherding new writers and producers into the group is a really big deal.
Is there anything that you've gathered doing this over the years? Are there any common threads to the super producers out there?
I think it's that every year they're taking a risk. It really comes down to that. I mean, I see with Dick Wolf Productions launched a streaming drama for the first time this year. You look at Ryan Murphy, obviously taking on so many different things, but also he came out with Monsters, had such an impact on the Menendez real life. So things like that are making such an impact in a different way.
Being here in Southern California, it's literally been for a year, every night on the news since the show came out. And the impact of storytelling to change people's minds, or at least open their minds to maybe there is a reinterpretation of this.
Dan Fogelman and Sterling K. Brown are another two. Obviously, Sterling is best known for acting, but he is an executive producer on Paradise. And the two of them have become huge spokespeople for filming in LA. And when I moderated at Televerse recently, they both kind of went off on tangents about the importance and how they can bring filming back to LA. And they're making it their mission to do this. And it's things like that, once again, impact that has on so many people here.
Well, Emily, you can't know this because you weren't eavesdropping on my conversation with Michael Schneider, but we were just talking about that. Kathy Bates using her incredible clout on Matlock to say, this will shoot in LA. And the ripple effect for all the folks that work on that show is really significant. Before I let you go, I want to ask you two things. First of all, one or two things that you're really curious about for the Emmys on Sunday night, the big show finally on September 14th, live on CBS. What are you going to be watching for?
I cannot wait. I am going to be watching for all things The Pit. I think that The Pit is the show to watch this year. I know Severance is one people are really thinking it's going to be competing with. I think Noah Wiley is the one to watch.
Okay, my last question for you is, Emily, you have a regular slot where you talk about television and entertainment and pop culture on KCAL Los Angeles, the great all-news station. Emily, tell us what time we should look for that, and tell us what are the kind of things that you like to cover.
I go on right around 9:45 Pacific time every Wednesday on KCAL News. I talk a lot about TV. I talk about the top stories, like you said, in pop culture, the top things on TV. Sometimes we touch on music. It's really just whatever's the buzziest stories in entertainment. So every Wednesday around 9:45 in the morning on KCAL.
If you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Give it to Emily Longeretta. Thank you so much, Emily. I can't wait to see what all goes down on Sunday.
I'll see you there.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. Variety is back on the festival beat next week. We'll have reporters on the ground producing digital dailies at the Finnish Film Fair in Helsinki, at the San Sebastian Festival in Spain, and at the Busan International Film Festival in South Korea. Before we go, congrats to Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. The longtime hosts of ESPN's Pardon the Interruption have inked new deals to remain at the helm of the show for at least a few more years. That's good news for us fans. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Michael Schneider and Emily Longeretta. It was edited by Aaron Greenwald. Stick, snakes, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.